This is 92.5 Phoenix FM, community radio for Dublin 15.
Hey everybody, you're listening to the Power Andy Knowles, formerly of the Pro Wrestling Rewind on ESPN Radio, and you are listening to the WrestleView International Desk, right here on Phoenix 92.5.
Hi everybody.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
Dr. Nick, this malpractice committee has received a few complaints against you. Of the 160 gravest charges, the most troubling are performing major operations with a knife and fork from a seafood restaurant.
But I cleaned them with my napkin.
Misuse of the cadavers.
I get here earlier when I drive in the carpool lane.
There's a crazy man with a scalpel in ER. He's demanding to see a quack.
Hi everybody. Now, tell Dr. Nick where is the trouble.
I'm edgy. I got ants in my pants. I'm discombobulated. Give me a calmative.
Slow down, sir. You're going to give yourself skin failure. Okay. Now, the symptoms you describe point to bonus eruptus. It's a terrible disorder where the skeleton tries to leap out the mouth and escape the body.
No, you're talking.
Our one chance is transdental electromicide. I'll need a golf cart motor with a 1,000-volt capacitor. Stat!
Doctor, I can't in good conscience.
Now there's no time, man. We'll have to improvise.
Alright guys, this is the WrestleView International Desk here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, episode 209 of the podcast and of the radio show. Gary, welcome to the show, sir. How are things?
All good, Darragh. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Crazy week.
Yeah.
Like, I know I say every week
that every week
is a crazy week, but literally, guys, I can't remember a time where the wrestling world is so insane with things. You know, it's one of those things where we could do a show literally about every single topic that we have lined up, you know, and that's why if you guys have never texted in, if you guys have never tweeted us, tonight is the night. 085 10 50 181 is where you can reach us, and we want to hear from you because Sting debuted in the WWE. Punk has finally broken his silence. Monday Night Raw was a mixable occasion, and just I don't even know where we're going to start with this, Gary. So guys, if you haven't emailed us before, internationaldesk@wrestling.com, tweet us at WVIDesk, or of course text us 085 10 50 181. Gary, we have to start with CM Punk.
Yeah, I think so. It's the hot button topic.
Now I know a big part of me doesn't want to talk about this because I know everybody is going to talk about it.
Yeah, but it would have been the real cool thing to do to not talk about it. But say, oh, did you hear that podcast that didn't talk about Punk this week?
I know, but you know,
yeah, we have to.
We have a listener base that you know would be disappointed if we didn't. But so
hell, I'd
be
disappointed.
Well, definitely. But we are going to try keep it time sensitive because we have a lot to get through. And a lot of conflicting opinions, particularly regarding
a certain Mr. Borden Stevens.
Exactly.
He didn't even debut in NXT, and he's able to jump to the main roster. What's up with that?
Disgraceful. And Tyler Black had to wait for ages.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's not right, damn it. Anyway,
okay. Well, let's talk about CM Punk now. On this show, we've talked about him a great length.
Yeah.
You wrote your latest blog piece about CM Punk, and then silence was broken on the American holiday of Thanksgiving. All right.
I mean, I don't want to take full credit for it, but in my piece, I said we'll never know, you know, the ins and outs unless Punk talks. Which a week later, here we are.
He talks and changes everything.
You're welcome, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, look, I do have to apologise because I was a bit too hasty. I was texting you earlier on.
Yeah.
And what happened was, you know, I'm a big CM Punk mark. It's obvious.
Yeah.
And I think I bought too into the character and it became too real for me.
Damn
like I wasn't somebody who would be like, you know, like people said, Punk even talked about, you know, with Show, hey Phil, You know, never. I would probably break into tears and start crying. You know, that would be me if I met CM Punk. But I think I bought too into the character, and when he left, I took it personally that CM Punk, my favourite wrestler, a lifestyle idol kind of thing, is gone, because he is someone who I look up to.
Oh, and I'm the same.
As there's not that, let's put it this way, there's not that many straight edge people who you in Ireland or in the mainstream media who you can point to, and that's where my adoration comes from also, because he does jiu-jitsu, I do jiu-jitsu, that's awesome, and stuff like that. But that's where it comes from for me. So when Punk left, I was like, wait, this is the guy who would be outspoken about everything. It's gone, and I had some ideas why he left, and the injuries and all that kind of stuff, but the fact that he was so open about it and put it forth in such a great way, like, this is all I wanted. I don't want him to come back, because he's too burned out. I don't want him to go to TNA, which is laughable at its very core. I just wanted this, and now I can support him in everything else he wants to do, because not that I feel like he owes me this. I'm just like, now I know what happened. And that's where I came from. Just the not knowing was really difficult for me to get over. Sorry, Gary.
And as you said, we were talking about it earlier on, and I was saying we're kind of two sides of the same coin in a way. Whereas you took it badly, for want of a better term.
Yeah, no, I took it, but not in the way other people were. Like,
you took it more personal.
Yeah.
Whereas I was like, I'm exactly the same. The adoration, being a straight edge guy, growing up like that, and having Punk as kind of a guy to look towards and say, man, that's how I want to live my life.
Exactly, and that's where it comes from. From there's nobody else who I can point to and go, that's who I look up to. That's who emphasizes everything that I would like to be, and then to just walk away and be like, what about us? So whereas
you were saying, what about us, I was kind of more on the side of, well, it's up to him at the end of the day what he does. Like, he obviously has a pretty strong fan base. I mean, if the last day has taught us anything, it's that he does have a big fan base, and he can't be worried about what X amount of people are going to think about him. It got to a point where he had to think about himself, and he took the steps to look after himself. So I was always of the opinion that he didn't owe us an explanation. I'm happy that we got an explanation, but likewise, when you get an explanation, it kind of throws out a lot more questions.
Well, look, the only question that I actually want answered is, and I will recommend people watch the documentary again. It makes a lot more sense when you watch the documentary again. You're like, how did we not see this coming?
There's also another piece that I'd like to add to that. Paul Heyman was on Chris Jericho's podcast as well, and there's a section in it where they talk about Punk. And
Jericho gets slammed pretty badly by
Jericho
Punk as well.
Does get pretty, but I think that it's probably a fair character portrayal of Chris Jericho.
Look, we're big fans of Chris Jericho, but let's put it this way, it wouldn't surprise me that that's the way it is.
No, like, big fan of Jericho. Anyone who listens to the show know that, but the dude quite clearly has an agenda.
Well, yeah, let's put it this way, he has a podcast.
He has a podcast. Everybody has a podcast these days. We have a podcast.
But we don't have fanny packs.
Yeah, but but my point is, if you listen to his podcast, there's a very clear agenda. If you read his new book, there's a very clear agenda.
Corey and myself are going to break that down on the Monday Night Wars podcast. That book, it's good, but it's a bit much. It really is a bit much.
Yeah, if you follow him on Twitter,
I can't follow him on Twitter.
There's an agenda, But I mean, likewise, you kind of say that, and it's slightly vapid anyway, because doesn't everybody has an agenda really deep down,
Yeah, but
it's just Jericho's probably a little bit more out front with his.
That's true. Although I suppose at least he claims it,
Yeah, but anyway, there is a chunk in that podcast with Paul Heyman. I think it probably lasts less than 5 minutes. But when you listen to it with the knowledge that we now have, when Punk was coming out and talking about it, Heyman's snapshot of those 5 minutes, and as you say yourself, watching the documentary as well, if you do all this in kind of one big beautiful package, it really does round the whole story out.
What does Heyman say?
Heyman says,
because I can't recall it.
Yeah, Heyman basically says people only see what they want to see. So they saw he competed in the Royal Rumble. He went the longest in the match for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And then he just walked out. But what Heyman says is you didn't see for the previous 18 months
him sitting with an ice pack.
Dry heaving and getting sick and just being so burnt out. Like he even says, Heyman says himself, he said there'd be times when Punk would come to me and say, that's it, this is the day. This is the day that I walk out and it's done. So when you have all that extra knowledge to just kind of filter in to what's going on with Punk talking about it and talking about it pretty candidly, it rounds out the story a little bit more.
Like all I want to say is, if Punk ever hears this, I'm sorry I didn't believe that this was for the best.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't from a sense of entitlement, which is, you know, very indicative of the modern generation, where it's like, give me now, I bought your house. I can't believe people said that. It's like, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
Douche. No way. Or, you know,
I wrestled The Undertaker at WrestleMania.
It's like, no, he doesn't owe you anything. It's just from he doesn't.
And like, if people want to go back and listen to previous podcasts,
we've never said that. We've never said that.
No, where we've talked about it, I've said myself, the guy doesn't owe us anything.
I said that too.
But I said I
couldn't get over it until I heard what happened. That's just the way I work. I need closure with things.
Yeah.
And I feel this gives everything a sense of closure. If he never wrestles again, and to be honest with you, the way he was treated by the WWE, I hope he never wrestles again. You know, when the major, and everything we're going to say now is documented on the Art of Wrestling podcast. It's not our opinion. It's, at best, it's the opinion of CM Punk. It's the experience of CM Punk. So it's not. We're going to put a big star here. Allegedly, the way Punk was allegedly treated by WWE is abhorrent.
Oh yeah,
it's disgusting.
I mean,
how do you not be diagnosed?
Well, yeah, that's the main thing. I mean, you can take the whole thing. Like, he wanted to wear the MMA shorts and he wanted to get sponsors, and they gave it to Brock Lesnar. Okay, those are business decisions. You can overlook business decisions.
The business decisions, like, the WWE's always done stuff like that. That's just the way it is.
That's just the way it is. And Punk says that himself.
Yeah, but there's
certain things that are unforgivable. Now, like what we both sit here as, I mean, CM Punk is my favourite wrestler. Next to Shawn Michaels. Those two guys are my two favourite wrestlers of all time.
Funny enough, CM Punk and Triple H are my two favourite wrestlers. So there you go. That's the spectrum I cover.
Yeah, but so I'm not saying just because this happened to Punk, this is why. Just because it's Punk, it hasn't formed my opinion in a biased sense. If this happened to Zack Ryder, if this happened to Great Khali, if this happened to Aldo Montoya, you know, if this happened to Repo Man, I'd feel exactly the same way, because at the end of the day, it's these guys' health that they're dealing with.
Well, look,
not diagnose a staph infection,
which can kill you,
which can kill. It's effectively like your blood is poisoned. You know?
Yeah, it develops into septicemia.
Yeah.
Sure, remember Kevin Nash? He had that big thing on his arm from the staph infection.
He nearly lost his arm because of that, you know?
And Punk was wrestling on this thing.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, we can make jokes, but there are some things that you don't make jokes about.
No.
So we're not going to do it now. And then also as well, to have him compete with a concussion. Now, I've had a concussion.
Yeah.
I've had several concussions, which is why I don't compete. You know, getting personal here, it's why I don't compete in Taekwondo anymore, and it's why I cut back on training as much. I've actually, for long time listeners of the show, will be able to find the 2 weeks where I had a 2-week concussion.
Yeah.
And I still did the show. And I've actually never listened back to that show. I don't remember it because I was concussed.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what that would be like to be forced to go out and compete while you're concussed.
That, yeah.
Like, that's bad.
Well,
like, really, really bad.
Yeah, and I suppose Punk said himself that he wanted to finish to get to the Royal Rumble, to get to the end spot, but they fast tracked it. So he was going to compete anyway with the concussion.
Like, that's what he said.
He said it himself.
He put it on.
I mean, I don't think we could maybe, WWE did fast track his elimination, but then at the same time they still allowed the table spot to happen.
Exactly.
With Kane chokeslam through those, and that couldn't have helped.
What I don't understand in this post Benoit world, and anything like this. Oh, okay, not even Benoit, Chris Nowinski, and the work that he's doing. Yeah. We live in a world now where we know the dangers of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it should not be allowed. Like, Punk brought up a union. A union in wrestling has been thrown around for so long.
Yeah, well, look what happened with Jesse Ventura when he brought it up. He was blackballed for years. For years.
Raven. That's why you haven't seen Raven on WWE.
And I mean, I suppose Punk made a really good point, with all these guys, he's a quitter.
Or a quieter.
A quieter, yes.
Actually, there was a spot in that where, they were talking about it, and Cultus goes, read a book. And it's like what you said, and just killed me completely.
Who did I say that about? Dixie Carr?
Yeah.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Oh, man. But
it was when they called... No, it was when they said Ireland was still part of the UK. And I was like, just read a book. Come on.
It would work for Dixie Carter too.
Yeah. But notice how I went for Dixie Carter first, Anyway.
We didn't even mention Jesse Sorensen.
Oh, ding ding. So Punk is a quieter, but Punk is right in what he's saying. He's an independent contractor.
Which is actually crazy. I've never heard somebody say that before.
Raven said it before.
Other than Raven.
And I suppose the thing is, when it comes to being an independent contractor,
you can go.
You're beholden to no one.
Yeah.
So if you want to leave, you can leave. Punk wanted to leave, he left.
How funny is it that Punk, look, one of the things that always attracted me to Punk as a performer is that he is Raven, just given the actual chance. And if you ever watch Raven's work on the independent scene and in TNA, you can see a lot of Punk in Raven. And
their kind of mini series that they had in ROH was pretty good.
It's very good. But you got to think that a lot of that business acumen worked off on Punk, and I don't know, like, we've pushed. If there's two things that one thing that you can boil down, I think that we're in favour on this show is reduce schedule for the guys based on an off season.
Yeah, most definitely. Like we've said that many times,
and that's one thing. Another thing as well that I think we should push for, or at least support. Maybe a union in wrestling is a good idea.
I definitely think so,
because and that's going to be that's communism. It's like, no, these guys are going out, like in the NFL there's a union now.
Yeah, and I mean, and Punk touches on that, and it's interesting because I'm currently rereading Chris Nowinski's book, Head Games. I found it just really, really interesting the first time around. So now this time I'm reading it, I have like a notebook that I'm jotting down all these notes on, because I'm a bit of a nerd like that. And yeah, it's super interesting. But Punk's right in what he's saying, that like the NFL are paying millions of dollars in compensation now, that they hadn't been doing before. So the fear is, of course, for Vince, that if the wrestlers union does come in and they start retroactively claiming damages, which I think Punk would have every right to. I mean, I think Punk has absolutely every right to sue WWE or even just the doctor, Chris Ammon, for his like absolute just negligent care.
Like his medical license at least should be, I mean, looked at again.
It's a sad state of affairs when if you have him and you have Dr. Nick Riviera, because those are the memes that are going around. Yeah. I mean, I'd much rather go to Dr. Nick Riviera.
At least you have Lisa talking through things.
Yeah, exactly. And anyway, I mean, at least he studied at
the upstairs Hollywood Medical School.
Yeah.
You'll want to focus on the neglected food groups, such as the whipped group, the congealed group, and the chocotastic.
What can I do to speed the whole thing up, Doctor?
Be creative. Instead of making sandwiches with bread, use Pop-Tarts. Instead of chewing gum, chew bacon.
You could brush your teeth with milkshakes.
Hey, did you go to Hollywood Upstairs Medical College too?
Anyway,
where did you study, Dr. Chris Abbott?
Anyway,
nowhere as reputable as that, I bet.
Exactly. We have received a text actually from Jenny Turner. She says that, quote, I find it so difficult to get my head around the misdiagnosis of a staph infection. It's obviously a terrible way to treat a person, but it's also an awful business decision on the WWE's part. If Punk had gotten hurt or been out for a long period of time, or even worse, died, imagine the effect it would have had on the business. Why would you keep that doctor on his payroll? Well, Jenny, that's a great question.
Yeah, and we totally agree.
Totally agree. You know, he should be at least re-examined as a medical professional, because doctors, their main job is to help people, and he just, from Punk's from Punk's testimony, the last thing he wanted to do was help him.
Oh yeah,
he just wanted, it was like, you have to go and compete there. It's like, hey man, cut this off me now.
Yeah, sort this out.
Sort this out.
And he went back and he said this in October.
Yeah,
you know, so it went 4 months. Yeah. One thing I'll say about Doc Ammon is, and he was actually on a Chris Jericho podcast with Dolph Ziggler as well, and if you listen to it, it's quite interesting knowing what we know now, right? Because I thought he came across as a little bit one of the boys, and
I would believe that, yeah.
But the fear with that is, if you're one of the boys and you're running with said group of boys, you're more likely to look after them, and other stuff will kind of fall by the wayside. And if this other guy is heat with one of your guys, are you actually going to properly look after him? And then the other side in this, and I'm not trying to justify what Dr. Ammon did, is I'd imagine it's quite difficult when it's just one guy. Now I'm sure there's a medical team around them, but it's not like, you know, in a hospital where there would be 5 or 6 specialists. Yeah. So where Doc Ammon could have said to the other doctor who's there, what do you think? And the other guy could have said, man, that's a staph infection, we need to sort that out quick. I'm not, now the blame, yes, still definitely does fall on Doc Ammon. He should have had the know-how to say, yeah, we need to sort this out quick.
And also Michael Hayes to an extent as well.
Michael Hayes was going to have him working after.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, but
no, I can't.
Yeah, it's
known Michael Hayes. Yeah. You know, from what we've heard, I'm not shocked.
Yeah, so
unbelievable that he was actually going to book him to wrestle like that.
Yeah, so I mean,
something needs to change with this, Gary.
I'm not trying to justify Doc Ammon's stance. I'm just saying that maybe a whole review of how they do medical things work. Because I mean,
but look here, to answer Jenny's question, right? It is a great point, because we talked about this too.
Yeah.
Okay. If Punk had been seriously injured, or if he had died, you said to me you would stop watching.
Yeah, definitely.
I would stop watching. Yeah. And I'm not talking about I'm never watching it. I would stop watching wrestling.
Yeah.
Benoit was that line for a lot of people.
Yeah.
If someone worked to death, which is what this would have been.
Yeah. And negligence solely at WWE's door.
Yeah, like how could you recover from that?
You couldn't.
Like, this isn't not being tough. This is forcing somebody to work to death.
Yeah.
And it's something that WWE need to address
big time.
You know, they're all about
a total revamp of how they do things. You know, this guy's
disgusting. It's disgusting.
This guy should have, you know, quarterly reviews. If it's just him, if all the decisions are falling on just this one guy, because he's the only guy who travels.
Yeah,
he says that on that podcast with Dolph and Jericho. He's the only doctor travels. That's one guy looking after however many people are on the roster.
But Punk was arguably the top guy at this point.
He was one of the top guys, yeah. You know, so
I don't know. But look,
I don't know.
Those guys, look, if you haven't heard the Art of Wrestling podcast, listen to it. And we want to hear from you as well. Email us in internationaldesk@wrestleview.com. What do you think about the CM Punk situation? And what do you think about everything that we brought up on this as well? If you guys haven't heard it, you need to. You need to right away, because it's something that I think in the next couple of years will have a huge impact, and the internet's already exploded basically on this. So, you know, the WWE are in super damage control mode. This will change things.
Yeah, I think they released a statement around Doc Ammon. Yeah,
they did, but it's standard PR.
Yeah, of course.
Spin.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to transition into Sting right now. Our next big segment before we go to break, and we will come back with this. Okay. Okay.
Can I start?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, will we tell people what happened when he debuted, or
that's what I want to touch on.
Okay, go on.
So we were watching Survivor Series in my house, and there'd kind of been, the stories had been breaking kind of Saturday and into Sunday, and we recorded a podcast that's due to go up, and I mean, you were kind of giddy at the time that Sting might actually be here.
Yeah.
And we were the whole way through the pay-per-view.
We're ripping the absolute you-know-what out of me.
Yeah. Because it always happens to one guy at every pay-per-view that we watch, and it just so happened that this one was your turn. So our mate Chris was doing the WCW Sting music, and then it would get to a certain point, and he'd splice in like John Cena's music and stuff like that.
Because he thought that John Cena was going to come out,
in a Sting costume. Anyway, and so I mean, Survivor Series, are we going to talk about it?
We'll talk about it after the break.
It was okay. It was what it was. But anyway, it came to that point of the night where Sting debuted. Now,
and it was amazing.
It was amazing for you. I have reservations on which I'll talk about in time, but I like to see people happy. That's like, if like. It can be the worst thing in the world, but if it brings a smile to someone's face, I'll be totally cool with it, because they're getting something out of it and they're happy. When I watched you when Sting debuted, it was like, the only way I can describe it is I have a younger brother, and it's like watching him open presents on Christmas morning. That's it. It was like all your dreams had come true. You were... Yeah, it was amazing to watch, and I was so delighted for you, and it come full circle. We were like, oh, it's not going to happen, bro. It's not.
I actually didn't think it was going to happen at some point.
And
like, no.
Then it happened, and I mean, you were just so happy that, like, when I start talking about my reservations, the thing that I'll add on to the end is, man, at the end of it, I don't really care, because Darragh's reaction when he came out was it was one of those moments that are like, yeah, this is why I absolutely love wrestling.
Yeah, it was one of those moments where actually I got mild, like, I think
goosebumps.
But I thought I was going to have a mild stroke, man. A heart attack or something.
It did absolutely nothing for me, but just to see you so happy, it was like, man, that's just cool. It was so cool to see you that happy.
Couldn't believe they did it. Couldn't believe they did it. That's what it was crazy, man. It really was.
So, do I get to talk about my reservations now?
Yes.
Okay.
We have 5 minutes before we go to break.
We have 5 minutes. Okay. First off, I am interested to see where it all goes from here. Most definitely. But he came out, and now it might be because I'd bought 2K15 the day before, and you get the leaflet that gives you your downloads for Surfer Sting and Crow Sting, and the Crow Sting is ripped, and he's got long hair. Now, I kind of knew not to expect that.
It's from 1997.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I kind of knew not to expect that, because I had seen Sting in TNA.
Like, this is still the same man.
Yeah.
Ford and Stevens.
No. It's like the way they're on their fifth Undertaker.
They really should have released him, like TNA's thing, and just called him Indie Sting.
Brilliant. So, yeah, so he came out. Now, okay,
he looked good.
At first glance, he looked good. I mean, I can't really talk, because my hair is falling out. But I'm cool with it. Sting, he could have grown the hair a little bit. He could have maybe dyed it black. He was kind of this gingery.
He should have dyed it black, and he should have dyed his beard black.
Yeah,
I don't know why he didn't do that. But the hair, I don't mind too much, because I'm used to that.
No, but the thing that annoyed me with the hair is the face paint stopped.
Yeah, he should have went all the way up.
All the way up, because he kind of painted it to when he had hair. I just stopped. So it pans out, and okay, he's wearing the T-shirt. That's cool. They have to shill some merchandise.
But TNA are also
shilling merchandise.
By the way, The sales are great. You can buy a Sting mask there for €2.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to buy a lot of TNA
Black
merch.
Friday, you'll get it for 50 cents at this rate. So
they have although how cheap was it for TNA to try and quick WWE are doing it, sell us merch. They did this
Me too.
They did this when Punk did the pipe bomb.
Yeah.
Same thing. Anyway, go on.
So the screen pans back and you see he's in the leather jacket. So okay, man, this is cool. 2 words: business pants.
They had
scorpions on them.
There we go.
Yeah, business pants. And I was like, oh, okay, that's no. Could he not have worn the tights? And the boots. What was this so short notice? Was he in a meeting? Where a power meeting that required business pants?
Well, what I think they were, instead of business pants, they were the new sweatpants.
The Tommy Dreamer style
sweatpants, which you can buy on WWE.com now, which is the weirdest thing I think I've ever seen on WWE.com.
You're well buying them though, aren't you?
For WrestleMania.
Yeah, WrestleMania.
Gonna buy the mask.
the whole lot. Yeah, the whole shebang. I'm gonna dress up as Hogan just to annoy you. So you're like, oh, okay. But these are all just kind of little things that you can just
But to be fair, he looks better than the Undertaker did at WrestleMania. Undertaker was beaten.
Yeah, but maybe he's wearing face paint, so it's covering up a lot of stuff. I don't know.
I'm just saying,
and he had the big coat,
Yeah, but he didn't look like a broken old man.
No, okay.
Because he's still in ring shape. Taker isn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could debate that till we're blue in the face.
I hope Taker is, because I want to see this match happen.
Well, we'll get to that. So he's walking down the aisle, and you can feel that the atmosphere is building. So you're like, oh, okay.
I know, I was nearly in tears at this.
Yeah, you were, oh my god. No, like when he came out, Darragh literally went, it was brilliant. So he gets in the ring. Now, just, to paint the picture, the final 2 guys are Rollins and Ziggler. Ziggler for Team Cena, Rollins for the Authority, and Triple H is in the ring after breaking up a pinfall and hitting the pedigree on Ziggler.
Yes.
That's what led to Sting coming out.
Yeah.
And then, we're due to go for an ad break now, and I'd say if people play that clip, we'll be back from ad break before anything actually happened. I'm all for building the suspense and the drama, but I thought the stare down was just a little bit too much. It lasted a little bit too long for me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why, if Sting was kind of maybe Sting felt he needed to soak in the atmosphere. Maybe that's what was decided beforehand.
Or maybe it was the shock of working in
the big leagues. Yeah, you never know.
Same thing happened in Nash, apparently.
Yeah. I'd imagine so. That's probably the most people he's seen in an arena for a very long time.
That's true. But on that point, we will go to break.
Okay.
So just imagine
a face-off between Sting in his business pants and Triple H in his business pants for the Battle of Power.
And we'll be back after this. Sting should actually come out with that car.
Just Sting.
That'd be awesome. Okay, so for anybody listening who just joined us, thank you very much. This is the WVIDesk International Desk here on Phoenix 92.5 FM. Sting has debuted in the WWE. Gary's not happy. I am elated, obviously. Okay, so there was a huge showdown, basically, between the Authority, Triple H, and Sting. And I will admit, Gary, it lasted for way too long. It did. Yeah. And I think, if it had been half the time, or if the lights had been out and he had the bat or something, it would have made more sense. But I don't know, it was a moment. There was a moment there, and I think
there was a moment there, and I'm not trying to poo-poo on it too much.
Yeah.
And you said I wasn't happy. I'm not. I was just slightly underwhelmed about it.
I will admit that compared to what it could have been, it was underwhelming.
Yeah.
However, the sheer fact that it was Sting in a WWE ring was huge.
Yeah, and I suppose that's where we're different in the fact that you are a big Sting fan. You grew up watching him.
Yeah.
And so
and a lot of people grew up watching Sting.
Yeah.
I'm sure people listening right now understand that, and it's hard because over here WCW wasn't the big thing.
Yeah.
You really had to go your way, and it was, but you could still see it, and I think anybody who has that connection with Sting gets it. However, to the WWE universe, probably wasn't the best way to go about it.
Yeah, like, as you say, there were certain things that, because a lot of my Sting knowledge is based on what you have told me,
right?
You know, so I was expecting, you know, I quite liked the VT. I thought the VT was pretty cool. You know, the Tron.
I was expecting Raven to walk out though at this point. You know,
I was expecting Seek and Destroy. You know.
Well, no, I don't know why they didn't give him his WCW music.
Yeah,
which is weird because they had it in the 2K15 trailer. I was like, why didn't they just do that again?
Yeah,
I don't like his new music. I think it's very, very bad.
Yeah,
very bad.
But no, I was cool with that imagery. You know,
yeah,
the VT,
that was cool.
and
that was cool.
That was cool. So I was like, okay, because I felt like, yeah, that's Sting. That relates to what Darragh and other people have told me about Sting.
Yeah, this is what he does.
Yeah, but then for him to come out and, you know, the slow walk down to the ring, the slow stare down.
He seemed to be channeling The Undertaker far too much.
Yeah.
And that's why I think was weird for people.
Now, and like, I actually said after the pay-per-view ended, because I think the other people who we watched the pay-per-view maybe were leaning more towards my side on the opinion of it. They got it was a big deal and super cool and blah blah blah, and I said, like, would it not have made more sense to do that VT thing, the lights go out, the lights come back on, and there's just a bat in the ring with H light out and Dolph over Seth?
Yeah,
because that's because realistically
they showed the shark too much.
Yeah. Because realistically, that's what they're going to need to do if Sting is going into a program with people. Like, originally it was kind of thought that it was going to be Taker at Mania and that was it. But from what we see now, it's looking like he's going to have a match with Triple H.
There's two things.
Now,
just stop you there.
Yeah.
Sting did an interview with IGN.
Yeah.
But it was a kind of, you know, one of those kooky web show things.
Yeah.
And he said that, is there anyone you want to do a match with?
Yeah.
And Sting was like, yeah, I know who it is, you know who it is, and he mouths Taker.
Yeah.
But then also hints that it could be Triple H or The Rock.
Yeah.
And the plan is from, I think the Observer came out with it, and E-Wrestling News was running it as well. The plan is a match against Triple H, because Taker isn't in ring shape. He probably isn't healthy enough to do it, and he seems like he's pretty much done.
Yeah.
Which would make sense. But Triple H, this could be Triple H's last match. It could be. It probably will be Sting's last match.
Yeah.
But Sting on the IGN interview said, I have one big match left in me, and it's going to be at WrestleMania, but we don't know against who yet. But do you want it to be against Triple H? It could be a match against Triple H at WrestleMania, at Royal Rumble, and match with Undertaker at WrestleMania.
That would be.
That's what it could be.
That's what I would go for.
Yeah.
I'd be happy enough with that. I'm actually going to the Royal Rumble, so it would be cool to see Sting wrestle. Like, I'm not saying that I don't want Sting to be there. It's just there's a lot more questions now as to where they go from here. My point in saying that they should, that would be what I would have done with the imagery of, you know, just the bat taking out the VT, boom.
You don't show him up in the rafters.
In the rafters, yeah. As you say, you don't show the shark.
No. And the thing about Sting is, Sting's never been the most technical wrestler in the world. It's not about that.
But my point in all this is that, okay, well, let's say, you know, he has a few matches in him, okay? Let's say he has 4 matches in him. He might do, we don't know. We're not sure what type of shape he's in. So, Triple H at Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, fair enough. Taker, maybe, at Mania. Have him work someone at SummerSlam and have him work someone at Survivor Series. Now, if we're getting into those multitude of guys who he's going to potentially work with, a guy who's top of the list for me, who I'd like to see him work with, and it's the same if Undertaker was ever to, you know, do more than one match a year ever again, is Bray Wyatt. I'd love to see what they could do, because it's not going to be about the match, it's going to be about the build, and you need to sell that character. Whereas now, if you were to say to, you know, a WWE fan, now I'm talking about, you know, within the last 10 years.
Like your younger brother.
Yeah, like my younger brother.
Yeah.
So I'd be able to say, Bray Wyatt, what is Bray Wyatt about? And he'd be able to explain what Bray Wyatt is about. you know, the long, windy promos. And
which are getting very trying.
Yes. But as he says himself, it's an art form, and art is difficult to understand. So, which is fair enough. And
McGilla buddies for life.
Yeah, simple. You know? But, you know, and Bray wears, you know, the Hawaiian shirts and the cap, and he has the lantern, and he has the rocking chair, and he has those videos before he comes out, and his music is iconic. Have to splice that in. and the music, and you know, and the lights. So you know, you get all that because you're used to that character. Whereas I think because that's what's going to sell Sting, as you say yourself. It's not going to be the match. It's going to be the build. And what
the match could be, and probably will.
It'll be the drizzlings. It'll be the absolute drizzlings.
But if they give everybody the payoff,
but you see,
that's all it is.
It's like Hogan and Rock at WrestleMania.
Rock's an awful match.
It's an awful match.
That match.
It's an awful match. But when those two guys are in the ring and you feel the electricity building, it's huge. Yeah. And because realistically, that's what people remember. People remember the atmosphere and how they felt.
And they remember the moments.
Exactly.
WWE are all about the WrestleMania moment. Right. Yeah. In order to get a moment, there needs to be a build towards that moment.
Yeah. Now, and I fundamentally believe that Sting and Taker have the ability to have that moment.
Yeah.
The match will probably be the drizzlings, but that moment is there's potential there.
Sting comes out pointing the bat at Undertaker. But Undertaker hits the lights.
But it gets back to the imagery of Sting. You know, the bat, the trench coat, this up in the rafters, descending down, you know, all that stuff that we didn't get at first sight. You only have one
first impression.
You have one go to make a really strong first impression. And for me, because realistically, that was really my first impression of Sting.
Gary, you're watching TNA for years.
I wasn't watching it for years, and Sting was here and there, you know. But I mean, because it's a brand new feeling, you know. Okay. He's not Joker Sting. He's not main event Mafia Sting. He's WWE Sting.
Okay. That's weird for me because Sting in TNA, he's had some great matches in TNA. And they wouldn't be my top matches. Yeah. Like when when TNA are bought by the WWE, I'll be happy that they all be on one DVD.
Yeah.
But still, you know, it's... He's exposed enough, but he should be exposed enough for you to be able to relate to the character. But for younger fans, I totally get it.
Yeah, because I mean, and the reason why I say it's kind of my first time seeing Sting, I don't count the TNA run
at all.
No, you can't.
Four-time world champion.
Please, so is Magnus. Come on. Let's not be stupid here. You know, let's not say things we can't take back.
Okay, NWA champion at least once.
At least once. No, but because all the imagery that we get of Sting from WWE is from WCW.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you need to buy into that WCW mythos of Sting
and WWE
and WWE. Darragh's first house show in Dublin.
First time I saw Sting as well. In the flesh.
In the flesh,
Never forget. And that's the first time I saw Buff Bagwell in the flesh.
Buff the stuff. Man, he should come back. Imagine if that had
and Sabu, that was some show.
That's an alright car, apart from Buff.
But that was just hilarious, full stop.
So, but my point is, you have to buy into the mythos, you have to buy into the imagery, and I actually talk about it on the 208 podcast that is yet to go up.
That will go up soon.
It will go up soon.
Tweet your displeasure to Adam Martin for taking a holiday. How
dare he take a holiday? And I say in that podcast that I'm all about imagery, and you know, because those are the things that you remember.
Yeah, it's not the match per se. Yeah.
Like the thing, you don't remember Rock hitting the rock bottom on Hogan. No, what you remember is those two guys staring off against each other,
and that's what they show.
Because that's the image. Yeah. Like you don't really remember. I mean, I was trying to think what actually happened in the Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton, and Batista match. I can't really. But what do I remember when D. Bryan's family gets in the ring at the end and are celebrating?
I remember powerbomb spot.
Through the table? Yeah. I mean, I struggle to recall that, but you remember the big images.
Yeah, and it's like Foley, Undertaker, of course, the Hell in a Cell, or Foley and Edge at WrestleMania.
Yeah, you remember the big spots, and I do think Sting has the potential to have those big spots, but based on first impression, it could have been a little bit more for me because, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the WWE was trying to target more people like me who didn't really know Sting too well compared to people like yourself who are a real big fan, because realistically, you know, the way the fan base goes, those people who would have known Sting back then are gone,
or they're watching TNA,
or they're watching something else.
Well, let's put it say, right?
So I think they were trying to get my attention more so than your attention, because they already had your attention,
and it worked. I was listening to Vince Russo's podcast today, called The Swerve. Vince, listen, if you're going to produce a podcast, improve your audio. I had to stop listening halfway through.
Audio on a pole match.
It's terrible. Anyway, and he had Tony Schiavone. I'm like, I love Tony Schiavone. Anyway, it was very frustrating. I wish WCW was still around. Tony Schiavone. I want Tony Schiavone on this podcast. I love him so much. He's the best commentator of all time.
Is this your new goal? It Stings in WWE now, so you need a new one to work towards. It's getting Tony Schiavone on our podcast. You got to
have, and you'll have to do the interview, because I'll be too busy marking in the corner.
So you talked once at some wrestling shows?
Anyway, so and he had him on anyway, right? And he was,
what's it like working with Dusty Rhodes? The dream.
Okay, well, the thing about it is, he was saying that when the ratings came in, the first hour was up 1 million basically from what it normally was, or 700,000, and the ratings were really, really good. And then once the Authority left and people were like, Sting isn't showing up, they dropped. They dropped, like, all those viewers who were people like yourself who are watching solely for what they're going to do with Sting, left. So they've killed the goose. They've killed the goose. And I don't understand this. If I was booking this show, I would have had Sting open it or interrupt in some way, explain why he's there, or do a vignette or something. Not
the thing was that the Authority came out first, so you know, it's that whole thing, you know, you have to watch it with suspended disbelief. It's not real, blah, blah,
but they didn't even mention him on the show.
But the thing was, it was like, okay, the Authority came out at the start. So at what point did Sting show up to the building? They were already out there. He could have gone out and taken out Triple H. What was Vince going to do? What was Steph going to do? To level the playing field for the match. So at least, okay, now it's an even playing field, because Triple H isn't going to be out there. You know, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we're going too deep.
Well, no, I don't think we're going deep enough, and we haven't got time to go deep enough. But WWE, some continuity would be nice. It really, really does.
I mean, if you're talking about continuity, I think we have to jump to Raw.
That's exactly where we're going.
The last segment.
What was up with Raw? Like, okay, I liked it when I first watched it. And I was like, and you know what I think that was? That was the goodwill garnered by Sting. I was still on a high.
That's good.
I was watching Raw and I was like, this is great. I'm not negative. This is fantastic. And then it's worn off, and it was killed by the last segment, which of course is what, Gary? What did they bring back?
Well, okay, let's paint a picture with our words.
This is TNA level. I'm actually getting a headache. This is TNA level stupidity right now.
So the Authority came out to bid farewell, and then Daniel Bryan came out to a really, really huge pop.
First time we've seen Daniel Bryan on TV in a while.
Yeah, and it was super cool to see him. Cool, The segment probably lasts a little bit too long, and
never give him a live mic ever again.
And it exposes his main weakness
with his talking.
He
needs somebody he needs a heater. That's why he needs.
Yeah, he needs a heater, or he needs, you know, just 3 minutes.
Yeah,
condense
short segment. He's like Roman Reigns. Don't let Roman Reigns talk ever.
Short, cool segments, and it'll be grand.
And right back.
But likewise, it was still super cool to see him.
Yeah.
So it was kind of weird, because we were kind of led to believe that Cena was in charge, but then Cena kind of gave the power to D. Bryan. D. Bryan made some matches. It was an okay show. It was a real up and down show, you know. It was like
it was like the epitome of third week before a pay-per-view.
Yeah. And it was like, okay, that's okay. But Harper and Ambrose had it was a decent enough scrap. Yeah, okay, cool. Fandango came back. I was delighted. Stuff like that. And anyway, so the main event was to be Cena and Dolph. Now, I mean, I could talk about Dolph Ziggler for about an hour. They gave him a rub, and they didn't at Survivor Series, in the sense that he was the sole survivor, but a 55-year-old man had to drag him and put him over Seth Rollins' body to get the win. So who does that really help? And then he was literally non-existent on Raw, save for a kind of short promo with the Stooges, where he's talking to the Stooges saying, "I believe you can do it," you know. And anyway, so the main event was a handicap match: Cena and Dolph against Seth Rollins and two partners that would be picked via the dreaded WWE app. It's free. Have you downloaded it yet, there?
No. Nor will I ever.
But how will you vote? Anyway, there's over 9 million downloads. Don't you know that?
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
It's Cyber Monday next Monday.
Yeah.
And
well, you're jumping ahead.
I know, but I am tempted. I really like the Cyber.
I do.
Cyber Sunday.
I love
Tuesday.
Cyber Sunday and Taboo Tuesday.
I love Taboo.
People hate them.
I love Taboo Tuesday.
It's like the Championship Scrambles. I love the Championship Scrambles.
Let's not go nuts. But
no, bro. Championship Scrambles are brilliant.
Brian Kendrick was a champion.
The Brian Kendrick. It was amazing. The only thing that's so annoying about the Championship Scrambles is they're interim champion, so it doesn't go down in history. But don't worry, the Brian Kendrick will always be a world champion to me.
And yet you disregard the TNA Championship.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that just shows how worthless it is. I'd rather have an interim champion. I'm like the UFC. I'd much rather have an interim champion. Anyway, so so it was by the app vote, and it was like you could pick Harper and Henry or Kane and Henry or Noble and Mercury. So I mean, who was going to win? Noble and Mercury, landslide, 94% or something. Anyway.
Good workers with him as well.
Great workers, but they were portrayed as, you know, these goose, which I thought they played pretty well.
They did, but the thing was, they're stellar workers.
Yeah.
They're the guys I want on my team.
Yeah. So anyway, it all breaks down, and there's this huge kind of melee, and it's like, and then all of a sudden we hear a noise that we haven't heard in years, a good while. I think
2-3 years.
Yeah, was it mid 2011?
Yeah, so even longer,
or mid 2012. I'm not sure. So, and it's the notification that you used to get on your old phones. You know?
Right now, it's actually out of date.
Yeah.
This can't be.
I mean, that and the CTU one in 24.
Yeah. That's cool.
That's cool, but it's outdated, but it's still super cool. You have to download it now to get on your phone.
Really?
Yeah.
That was my ringtone for ages.
Yeah.
Anyway,
go for bear. You're gonna have to splice all these sounds in.
I will. Yeah. Don't worry.
But that sound signifies that it's the anonymous Raw general manager. Now, the thing that really annoyed me is that the noise goes and they pan over to JBL, Cole and King, and then the screen kind of pans back, and all of a sudden there's just this podium. It's like, now, Jerry, did you not see the man put it there?
Obviously a crew member had to run out and set that up.
Build it like
things don't
quick.
Just appear.
Yeah.
Even in crazy wrestling world, things just don't appear.
We need some justification. Like, could it not have come up on the screen that it's backstage or something? Yeah. Instead of just appear right there. So anyway, Cole gets up and does his usual.
I received an email.
Can I have everybody's attention? And Cole was delighted. The crowd was booing. Something fierce.
Twitter exploded.
JBL was going Maggle. It's all over the place. And basically he said, the anonymous GM said that we will have order, and he's taken over. He or she.
Bluewood order.
We're taking over. And to restore some control, next week is going to be Cyber Monday,
which I can't wait for.
Yeah, I'm hopeful.
I hate the fact that
the anonymous Raw GM is back.
We got this already. This was paid off. It was
Hornswoggle
under the ring.
How pointless was that?
How do we not? How are we supposed to forget that?
Yeah, like, where do we go to now? But stories kind of broke then. Tuesday, Wednesday, that originally there was supposed to be a bit with Cena and Vince, and it was kind of writing Vince out again for a bit, and writing Triple H and Steph out for a bit, in the sense that it was going to be revealed that Vince would say there's just going to be no a GM, or there's going to be
we don't need a GM.
locker room.
What's wrong? Like, okay, remember when Jack Tunney was there, and he'd only appeared when like something really bad happened,
like once every 8 months or something.
Or Gorilla Monsoon or something, where it's just like, oh, here, look, this is a big match. Watch the match.
Fader beat up a guy in Kuwait.
Yeah, exactly.
Gorilla Monsoon's there.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorted
it
out.
Makes sense, you know. Yeah. Gorilla Monsoon booked the Ironman match as well, didn't he?
Yeah, and the 4-way after the Rumble.
Yeah.
For the title, which was 97.
Yeah. See, and I like that because it's like, look, because booking the matches.
Well, the thing is,
doesn't matter.
Like, we were able to pull. He did the Ironman match. He did the Fatal 4-way match. Like, we were able to pull 2 matches straight without needing to think
because it actually meant something.
Yeah. What matches did Mike Adamle make? I can't remember for the life of me.
Something with Jeff Harvey.
Jeff Harvey. Yeah.
I would love him.
And the Taz.
And the Taz. But by the way, I need to get this out before we finish. TNA. Why are you keeping him on commentary and replacing the Professor?
Yeah.
Like, I love Mike Tenay.
They're both bad.
No, Mike Tenay is great when he has a foil. Mike Tenay is great. So Mike Tenay and Josh Matthews, brilliant. Get rid of Taz. Sorry, Gar. Continue.
The Taz.
The Taz.
Yeah, so I like we were able to pull, Gorilla Monsoon, things the Gorilla Monsoon done, but for every other guy who followed after that, when it became a kind of weekly thing, it gets kind of watered down, and you're like,
Eric Bischoff was a good GM.
Yeah, because he's a natural heel.
Yeah,
and you see, that's the thing. It kind of has to be a natural heel.
Yeah, like I think the idea of a GM is played out now per se, because we live in a Twitter interconnected world now where you don't necessarily need to have an on-screen presence. We saw how played out it was in TNA with Dixie after a while. So I hope this is a 1 week, 2 week thing, and it's revealed, which the plan is to have that being Triple H and Stephanie in Stamford. So that would be good.
That would be okay.
That's what the talk is, and then they'll probably break it in where Sting or something cuts the power line or does something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is yet. I'm just hoping that it's not months and months and months.
And then it's kind of forgotten about, and then it's brought back again. And as usual, where was Hornswoggle?
But what was with the end of Raw when all the lights went out? Was that a technical glitch? I thought that was the return of Sting.
No, I don't know. The Oak just kept the notification buzzer thing just kept going.
Does anybody know that,
blinking. Guys? I don't know.
Let us know, because I really don't know.
There was a match after the bell though, so I imagine it was just them.
Did someone just mess up?
It's just going haywire for the sake of it.
I don't know. I honestly thought that was going to feed into an angle and then just ended. I'm like, okay,
that's it.
That's it. That's the end of that. All right, so we didn't get to touch on a few other things, but basically, We've covered a lot.
Yeah, we covered the big ones. Survivor Series was okay. It was
Survivor Series. Yeah, you didn't miss much. No. Honestly, it was what it was. It was a free pay-per-view. I would still recommend getting network if you haven't. If you can, get the network. Yeah, get the network. There's some good shows on it. It was weird that Punk's documentary was on last night.
Yeah, I think it's a typical E move.
That was bizarre. But it was what it was. Strange week in wrestling, an important week, and. If you guys have anything to add, let us know. internationaldesk@sv.com, at WVIDesk, or 08510 50 181 for the text line. And Gary, what is your Twitter, sir?
My Twitter is @GuardWVIDesk.
Cool. Is there going to be a view from the undercard this week? Next week?
No, not this week. Week after. Cool. Kind of waiting to get into December and then doing kind of first one will be 5 best NXT matches, which we're thinking of linking into another podcast that we're going to be doing, and then the last one of the year will be the top 5 pay-per-view matches.
Cool, which will tie into our
end of year special.
Yeah, which we haven't got firm plans yet for, but we're working on
it.
We're working on a few things as well. The return of the Monday Night Wars podcast is being recorded on Saturday.
Brilliant.
With Corey and myself are going to be looking at Chris Jericho's book, so check out WVIdesk.com.
Looking forward to that one.
It's going to be interesting. I don't know. Corey has a lot to say. I'm sure he's going to be very vocal about Sting.
Brilliant.
So I'm looking forward to that as well. My Twitter is @DarraghWV, and of course the show's Twitter is @WVIdesk. So until next week, guys, I've been Darragh O'Connor, he's been Gary Hernon, and we'll see you then.